Call the Destin Fire Control District regular meeting of Board of Fire Commissioners to order. We're located at 848 Airport Road in Destin. May 8th, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is open to the public, and at this time, the floor is open for public comments. Seeing none, the floor is closed to public comments, and just to make a note that we have technical difficulties and the video will not be shown. All right, review of the minutes of the regular meeting, April 10th, 2018.
Make a motion we approve the minutes of April 10th, 2018.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second for review of the minutes of regular meeting, April 10th, 2018. Any discussion? Any corrections or repairs? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, to review the financial report for April 30th, 2018. Catherine?
The reports in front of you are through the period of April 30th, 2018, which is the 7th month through our current fiscal year. Nice quiet month, so I'm only going to touch on a few things. As far as the balance sheet goes, it shows very high accounts receivable at $204,000. As of today, that balance is down to $59,000. We've received 2 large payments from the TDC. And liabilities, I have adjusted 2 liabilities that typically aren't adjusted mid-year, and they're under current liabilities and long-term. It's the compensated absences in 1 year and the compensated absences in more than 1 year, and that's to account for the sick leave and vacation leave payout of our retirees that were paid out in April. As far as the revenue over expenditures versus budgets, the remaining pages, ad valorem taxes shows $231,000 additional to collect. We've received $78,000 of that, so we're down to a remaining $153,000 taxes to collect. That's 2.7%. And the collection rate remains higher than the collection rate in the last 3 or 4 years. So we're doing well with that. I do want to touch on the unrealized loss that we have experienced of $12,000 for the year on our bond fund. It is due to rising interest rates, but I did want to let the board know that we opened this bond fund in 2016, and since then we've had a net gain of $57,000, which is 0.7%. So, it's 10 times better than what we're earning on our money market account that we have the impact fee funds in. So, we're still to the good with that fund. Junior lifeguard program, we have approximately 40 participants enrolled at this point. The program will begin. Joe will be speaking of that to come. Pension fund contribution, as we have not received anything at this point, but our annual report has been accepted by the state, so we'll receive our first payment in August for premium tax revenue. As far as expenditures go, really have nothing that I'd like to highlight. There will be several budget adjustments presented to you later in the meeting. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to address those.
What is the state doing with that bond fund? Now, these are all unrecognized losses. I mean, we haven't sold the bond and taken a loss yet.
That's correct.
Well, they will do that, not us, right? Are they reladdering, or do you know what they're doing to?
They do. They adjust them because the fund is so large. They continuously have a turnover.
Right. Okay.
So that's continuous with the fund, and yes, it's unrealized until we decide to cash part of it out.
Okay.
Motion to approve the
Second.
financial statement.
Okay, got a motion to approve the financial statement, April 30th, 2018, and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. All right, old business. Discuss west end of District Station.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Buckingham and I have been discussing asking the board if we could remove this line item from the agenda. It's kind of progressing slow. We had asked if we could until we get that, until we have more to report to the board. It's kind of working slow right now. We've kind of had discussions with the city manager and some of the city council members. We're kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for them to receive their grant funds for the park. Once they receive the grant funds, then we're all going to sit down and work it out. So we're not sure when that's going to be, but we want to wait until they get that. That's kind of them working with us to make that happen. And until that time, we have something to report. We'd like to kind of remove this item, if that's okay with the board.
In favor? All right, so we'll remove that off the agenda for old business next time. All right, affirmation of trustee to firefighters retirement trust fund.
I'd like to let DC take over with that. You received his letter with his research and findings, and let DC take it from there. That's okay.
I understand that it's not in the packet in front of you, but I believe all commissioners received my memo. After research,
I don't know the memo you're talking about.
I'm sorry, it's the memo, I sent a memo.
Yes, I forwarded an email. It was in the email with the agenda last week on Tuesday or Wednesday, so I apologize. I didn't.
Sorry,
I can resend it to you real quick.
I'm sure I've got it.
Well, basically.
He'll give us the Cliff Notes version.
Basically, 4 statutes, 175 and 185 govern the Destin Fire Control, or Fire District and Police District and trustees. There hasn't been a lot of case law. The statute's pretty clear that the 5th trustee is appointed by the 4 other trustees, and the commissioners approve that person as a ministerial duty. There was a county down in Miami, or a commission down in Miami, that asked the Attorney General opinion whether or not they can alter the terms of the statute to add criteria for the trustee. Attorney General said, no, that's for the legislature to do it. You can't alter the terms. You must take it as it's read. So after my research and review, it is my legal opinion that the commissions must accept Mr. Harvey as a trustee that's been picked by the other 4.
We have to accept, we have to vote on it, or just knowledge-wise?
You have to, there needs to be a
Administrative, yeah.
approval.
You know, the only heartburn I guess I have with the whole issue is how it came about. The final hour, the gentleman put his resume in when we've already had presented 2 other people that we vetted and sent to him. And the resume came in at the final hour, like 10:30, 11:30 at night, and it just appeared when it went to the meeting, in my eyes, that they didn't even look at the other 2 people that put in their application. One being really a good candidate that had financial background, and that's just only concern I got is how it was done.
And that was my concern too when I first saw this. That's why I wanted to do additional research. Unfortunately, this is a area of the law that has not been discussed by hardly any courts. There's one Attorney General opinion in the state of Florida. There's no case law that really touches base on this. Do I think that this is going to be challenged somewhere down the line? Yeah, I think it's an area where we can create new law in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
The only requirements we have here is this trustee has a fiduciary duty as the other 4 trustees as well. Any violation of that, they can be removed from their position. However, nothing, at least in the state of Florida, has come up where this has been challenged. So this is a new scenario, this is a new situation. If the board wants to contest it, we'll end up in litigation. I've spoken with Mr. Harvey's attorneys from South Florida. He understands what the statute says, and goes if there's nothing else on it, that the board, has to choose or, adopt Ms. Harvey as trustee. So if the board doesn't want to accept, I guarantee that they lawsuit would be forthcoming. I think we prevail in the end, and again, it would be creating new law in the state of Florida.
Like I said, I don't think it's such a big deal, other than just how it came about. That's the only heartburn I got.
Yes, sir. And again, this section 175.01 is a fiduciary duty that governs all the trustees. So if there is a violation, that's the only thing that we can really hang our hat on at this time, unless we want to get into courts.
The gist I get from reading what you sent us is that we have no influence or anything to do with appointing that person.
The fifth person.
That fifth person?
Yes, sir.
And therefore, I don't see why we need to give an affirmation for it. I mean, if it's up to them and we don't have any say in it, why would we have to approve it?
Well,
Or just be aware of it.
Is there liability in here on us for approving it? I guess a
There
couple
is.
questions I have, because I wasn't here last meeting. Number one, the first two people that put their name in the hat and came up in a timely manner, they were qualified, correct? And I don't know if Mr. Harvey is or not. Is he qualified for this position?
There are no qualifications for the position, as far as
But they're
per
handling
se.
what kind of money?
Let me tell you this, I was at the meeting when they voted. We had one of the commissioner, chairman, what do they call it, the trustees, he had to excuse himself because he did all the banking, all his work for Mr. Harvey. He said he had to excuse himself because Mr. Harvey trusted him to do his work. I said, if he can't even do his own banking, how can we trust him to do our $19 million in the trust banking? It's like the guys are on the trust. It didn't make no sense for him to be on the trust when we had people that were qualified, that were bankers, and they just bypassed him. To me, nothing against Mr. Harvey, no, but there was people that were more qualified, and they just ignored it and just picked him. And since another trustee is doing his banking for him for his investments, how can we trust him to do our investments?
I still say that if by law we have no say in the matter, then we need to just recuse ourselves from it and go on about our business.
Well, like I said, the statute is very clear. Well, the statute from the Attorney General opinion is very clear on its face. What it states in there is that it's the commissioner's duty, as ministerial duty, to approve the bid person. I understand your concerns, and again, I think it does open up to liability. And as Chief Sasser and I spoke last month, what happens if they don't meet the criteria? What's the criteria? There's no law, there's no case law, there's no opinion, there's no legal basis or ground for it at this time. So the board can go ahead and not make a decision and not approve the commissioner. And I don't know for a fact, just after speaking with Mr. Harvey's attorney, I would assume that he would send a legal notice and possibly bring legal action. And this is one of the type of cases that even if we win at a local level with the circuit courts, it's probably going to end up in appellate court because this will be a new case.
It's going to cost how much money is it going to cost the district?
Excuse me?
How much money will that cost the district?
I can't tell you right now because I don't know what Mr. Harvey's attorney would do. If he writes legal or writes to the Attorney General turns around as a legal opinion. We can accept the district can accept the legal opinion. We can fight it. We can take it to court.
It's just kind of concerning that an appointee would take it to the bar as consult with attorney.
Well, I will, if we
go ahead.
can
You wanna clarify
clarify, it is not Mr. Harvey's personal attorney. Mr. Harvey has utilized the trust's attorney.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Well,
my
the
apologies.
thing about it is, it's key, and as you just question, Bobby, the two firefighters don't have any banking experience either.
Exactly.
Sitting on that board.
And they're the ones
So why does it make a difference whether you got banking experience, whether you're gonna sit on that board? It's their choice, who they wanna put there, that's fine, let them make the choice, but if it's underperforming, then it's all on
Yeah,
them.
because back to my original question, is there a liability on us?
There is,
To some-
I don't have an answer to that because that has not been addressed.
Okay, well, I can't vote on something if I don't know if I'm liable.
Well, I'm not open to a vote on it, either way.
No, that's, it might be the firefighters' money, but it comes from taxpayers. And I don't think that he was, to me, the best choice, and there was other people that had banking experience. We already have 2 people on the board already that don't have any kind of experience in financial. Now we have 3 that have no financial experience at all.
Nature of the beast.
It all goes back to my question, are we liable for it?
Good point.
Well, that's
If we're liable for it, it's a different story. If we're not liable, then that's a different.
Ultimately, we are,
Well, at the end of the day, yes.
at the end of the day, because
At
it's,
the end of the day, yes. But if we appoint someone and that individual, he or she, doesn't do, underperforms, does it come back and bite us? We're the ones that appointed them. So all I'm asking.
well, then we have the
board's not
ability to
appointing,
remove
the
that
board is
person.
just approving as administrative.
As far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much the same thing. But what I'm hearing you say is, by a case law, we are supposed to do it.
So if they appoint
No,
them,
by statute, you're supposed
By
to do it.
statute.
There is no case on the
Okay,
statute.
by
Just says
statute, we're supposed to, but then again, mine's just a simple question. Are we liable?
that is a
Well,
answer. Again,
we would be liable if we didn't take actions that we should take.
Right.
If someone is appointed and we do our ministerial duty and codify that by writing it down, and he does something untoward, and we don't take whatever action we should do, if any trustee on the trust fund, through either no fault of their own, or through fraud or gross negligence, whatever, okay? And what is it we should do? So my point is, and I'm not the attorney, you see this, but, you know, we're probably not liable until we don't do something we should do.
correct.
So far, we haven't not done something we should do, except what we're looking at is we should approve this because that's what the statute says. I have read your email now, that's what I got out of it, right? Okay. The question would be, what responsibility do we have for oversight of the pension board, and how do we execute that oversight? That's probably something that's a different conversation.
Yes, it is.
But that's where our liability, I think, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but that's where our liability would come in, that if we were aware of some defalcation or fraud or something and did nothing about it, yeah, we'd probably be liable.
I do not believe this board is responsible for the pension board's actions, unless, as you said, unless you knew about it.
Right, say that one more time?
I don't believe the board in front of me is liable for the pension board's actions unless
You don't take action.
unless one of you knew about it.
We
Then
do
I'm
have
okay.
to
Then I'm
take
okay.
action.
You know,
I would agree with that.
I look
Then
at
I'm
this.
okay. I'm okay with it.
I've looked at this, because I do a lot of litigation, and if we were to go to trial, the arguments made. I don't see what the commission or the board's here liability would be if the statute says you don't have to say in whether or not you've approved them, you just have to prove them. That's your duty, all you have to do is prove, that's the only duty that the statute imposes. So if we went in front of the court, I mean, who cares that this person stole all the money? We didn't do it. The statute says we had to approve it. We approved them. We didn't pick them. The 4 of the trustees of the pension board picked. So I don't believe, my thing, the research I've done, I don't believe that the board approving Mr. Harvey today, subject them to any liability down
Then I'm
the
okay
road.
with
Again, that is subject to somebody knowing something illegal that's going on.
Well, I would darn sure think, with the trouble that we've gone through in this last decade, that the state itself would put some kind of a language in there, because that's their money too. You would think that they would put some kind of criteria in there and have to have,
It's not their money, it's the taxpayers' money.
well, it's still their money though. It's still their money. You know, I mean, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, if it's unfunded, state's gonna have to step up to the plate and do something. You would think that they would put some kind of language in there.
It may be something I would like to know maybe more about at a future meeting, we could calendar it somehow, is what is our responsibility to monitor or in some fashion, not oversee, because we're not responsible for it, but monitor the performance of the commissioners and the trustees, and under what circumstances are there appropriate actions for us to take, and what are those actions?
It's a good question. Very good question.
I can have an answer to that. I know that under Florida Statute 175:01, 0203, again, it governs fiduciary duty. It's criteria that the trustees have to abide by, and the actions that people can take against them for any violation are included in those. Now, what is your specific responsibility to the trustee? Again, from the research I've done, that there's nothing that says you have a responsibility to.
Wow.
And it also says, again, there's no responsibility, there's no liability, there's no discussion of it.
And that is why there is 2 separate boards.
Yeah. Well, they're a separate board so that we can't in some way disadvantage the pensionees because we can't operate this district within the revenue that we have.
Right.
So it's to protect them. I understand all that.
Right.
That's why last time I was unwilling to say, okay, we'll tell them what to do, because statutes specifically don't want us to do that.
Exactly.
But I would think, I mean, and Chief, with all due respect, if we found out that the chief in some way was mishandling funds, and we didn't do something about that, yes, we would be liable for that.
Right.
So not that I would ever expect that, but as a parallel, if we became at some point uncomfortable with the activities of that board, although they don't answer to us, at what point in time do we have, some cause of action to do something? And what?
Yeah, responsibility.
See, I think as it relates to the qualifications for that position, I can't speak for the firefighters, but I would suspect that one of their qualifications is somebody we can trust. And if they choose to trust John, that's fine, okay? They may not want one candidate that we vetted, and that's all right. That's why they get to pick. I have no problem with that.
I don't either.
But I'd like to know on a quarter-to-quarter basis, are we derelict because I don't go to the pension board? Are we derelict because I don't read their minutes? I mean, what should we be doing? Come back and tell me nothing at all, then I'm happy because it's what I've been doing, right? But I suspect there is at some point, okay, that we do have some responsibility and liability if we fail to act on something. All good points.
And what I'm understanding here, this is an affirmation of the trustee. That isn't necessarily a vote for or against him. That's just affirming that the board
Affirming that the board trustees has
Selected.
selected.
Yeah, and all we're doing is affirming that.
All right, I don't see why the chairman just can't do that on Tuesday morning. I mean, what do we have to vote on this for?
I don't think
It's a ministerial duty, go minister.
I don't think we have to vote on it. I just think we have like a consensus.
Okay.
We affirm it. I mean, you have to correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know. Do we have to vote on an affirmation?
We're just acknowledging it.
That's who they selected. That's the way I look at it.
Well, I don't know where the word affirmation comes from. That's different than as a ministerial duty.
That's, yes, and the question is, the governing body of the municipality or special fire control district shall, as a ministerial duty, appoint such person to the board of trustees. So, and this is, I looked up, what is the board's ministerial duty? What does that consist of? Because that consists of a vote. We just agreeing, saying, okay, that is not defined. Again, it's a very loose law that just hasn't been discussed, so there's not a lot of guidance. I mean, I read the statute,
We can make it simple. If the statute says that we have to confirm, ministerially appoint or whatever, we don't need a vote to do that because we're just following the statute.
Right, exactly.
Why do we have to vote?
No, it's just, to me, all we're doing is affirming, saying, yeah, we understand who you put in there.
And that's who you live with.
That's right. So,
Everybody kind of agrees.
I believe as long as the board is not objecting to the appointment of the trustee.
We don't have the opportunity to. State statute says we don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Well,
Like I said, the only heartburn I have is how it went down. That's the heartburn I have. For the record.
But I say let it go, and if there's something else comes up out of that, if you find something, let us know at the next meeting.
I mean, the gentleman goes to the meeting, so
Yeah.
he knew there was an opening and
Yeah.
should have kind of,
Well, let's be honest, it's me now.
yes,
okay,
This
so,
is, I'll get you a response to the responsibility liability issue.
thank you.
all right, moving along then. Chief reports, beach safety update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next training academy starts on Thursday, May the 17th. We're hoping to have over 60 people employed. I did attend the TDC budget meeting with Okaloosa Island and the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, and everybody was recommended to stay status quo and was approved to be status quo. So that means currently, as it is, we're set to receive $779,000 next year, so that's fiscal 18-19 from the TDC. Other than that, the junior lifeguard program has 40 kids. We're really hoping that we still get our big May push and get that up to about 60 when we start. We still have a month to go, so I'm hoping we won't start till June the 4th. Other than that, just looking at the statistics, since we've had an early Easter season, it's been very quiet. It is starting to pick up this week, but if you have any questions on those stats or anything else that I've mentioned, I'll be more than happy to answer.
I'd like to commend lifeguard Corey Soper on 2 saves at Okaloosa Island while she was off duty.
Oh, no kidding.
She
Awesome.
she rescued 2 children and then a family
Mhm.
right after that,
Mhm.
and saved their lives over there while she was off duty on the beach.
Well, good for her.
Good for her. Commend her. Yes, sir.
I'll
Thank
pass
you.
that on to him.
Are you fully staffed going into the summer? Are you still looking for people?
We always.
Coast Guard rescue swimmer?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah,
I'll talk to you after.
absolutely.
Any other questions? Training report, Chief.
Yeah, so you'll see that they received 22 hours of training for the month of April, which is outstanding. It's 2 hours more than required. You'll see some of the topics there. We will be going into the summer Memorial weekend. We'll start staffing the boat. We went ahead and made sure we covered the fireboat and water rescue prior to putting it out there. And then some other various topics from 12-lead monitoring. And then we cover target hazards of flood problems and sun testing. But it was the first group topic of training, so they did a good job, got their 22 hours.
Any questions? All right, inspection report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have the report in front of you there. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Couple new projects that are going to be coming forward at some point. And the 281 unit apartment building. I think it's 5 buildings behind Winn-Dixie. And then a couple other little small places coming forward through the TRT phase and stuff and all.
So that 281's about the size of sea glass, and then
Pretty
200
close.
something there too.
Yep.
Wow.
Turn it into a housing authority.
Any questions?
Thank you, man.
Thanks, man. Response change report, Chief?
Yes, so you'll see on page 21, where we're trying to hit that 8-minute response time 90% of the time. You'll see that we're hitting the 8:59. We're down in April a little, not like we were in January, so it's fluctuated a little. We're going to continue to monitor that. I anticipate that it will start to go up. But it just happens to be that month. You'll also see that EMS's times went down as well. So I think it's going to just be call location and where the call was. If you get to the back of some of the gated communities, it takes us a while to get there, which then reflects in the calls. And if we're not having those calls and we're having calls go through the station, it affects the response time. So you'll see some fluctuations there. Then on page 22, you'll see the split, which is, we typically see that 65, 35 split. Well, in the month of April, you'll see there's a lot more calls. I say a lot more, 71% in Station 9's area as compared to 29% in Station 10's area. And then that kind of give you a glimpse of how the run zones are broken down on page 23. The first 5 zones are what 9 covers, and the next 4 zones, 6 through 9, are what 10 covers. So as you look across, you'll see the busier zones are in 9's area, which also reflects back to us looking for that other station that's up in this area with 71% of the call volume. And then when we break the zones down, one of the busier zones is zone 1, which is where that station would be, and then the one where this one's at, and then also to the east of us in zone 5. So a lot of that kind of adds up to that need. But you'll see in April our call volume was 241 with a potential of 281 calls. The difference of the calls that with that potential was 41, which is 14%. We're staying right around that 14% number. Fluctuates sometimes up to 15, 16, but then down to 13, so right around 14%. Below that on page 24 reflects those calls. 27 of those were alphas, 14 of those were at skilled nursing facilities, which are the calls that our assistance was not requested. Then when we look at page 25 at the top, it shows our breakdown between medical and fire rescue calls. You'll see that 64, 36%, and that's pretty on average for what we see each month. We have seen it at times where it's 50-50, but I think that's the anomaly, not the norm. When you look at the bottom of page 25, you'll see the calls where our assistance was requested. There were 14 of those, and of those that our assistance was requested, 9 of those were alphas and 5 were at skilled nursing facilities. And then when we turn to page 26, you'll see that in the month of April, the medical call breakdown is very similar this month as it is most months. Where you see in MVAs, we were up in March, kind of down to 24 in April, but you will see throughout the whole year where we're above 20 throughout. So, I mean, I do notice that the MVAs stay up throughout the year. That's one of those things that are kind of high.
Is construction helping that along?
I think we do have them out there for sure. And with the access of getting on the Emerald Coast Parkway, and I would never call it blind spots, but there are people trying to gain access to Emerald Coast Parkway while people are traversing it. So we have had, I would say, an uptick in calls on Emerald Coast Parkway for MPAs, yes. I think that is reflective in those numbers.
Does that construction cause us any particular problem with our apparatuses? I mean, there's no place for people to get over to let us by and large.
Yeah, it's true. What a lot of times our guys will modify the response instead of coming down Emerald Coast Parkway. Unless the call is down in that area, they'll come down Commons Boulevard, and at least that's got the shoulder of the road for people to get out of the way. Yeah. So they've kind of modified the response where we would normally take Emerald Coast Parkway as a straighter shot, more places for people to go, wider road, all the good reasons to take it. But they kind of modified it. I've noticed that we kind of discussed it, and they modified they will get onto Commons Boulevard to take that instead. Even though it's only a 3-lane road, at least people have a place to go to get out of the way. Yeah. Which makes it easier.
Well, I would expect as we really get into the summer, we're going to see our response times get ugly.
I think
of the construction and the knock-on.
And the traffic, because the people...
Well, we have traffic every year, right?
Right, but what's happening is people are diverting, and you're seeing a larger log jam on the commons. Right. So when they do take commons, there's more traffic to try to clear. So I think we're going to see, regardless of what alternate route we try to take, you're going to see a diminished response time. And I think that'll be reflective in the report that we had earlier when we started to show some of that.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Now, in reference to the traffic, we have had discussions, and they are going to, with our Opticom system that we have installed, which is a traffic preemption system, which is called Opticom, is who makes it. With the new construction that they're putting in, they're going to put an updated Opticom system in it, which will feed GPS as compared to what we have now, which is infrared. So they're going to upgrade that at no cost to us, so that the intersections will have that ability. Once that kind of takes place, we're going to budget to put split devices on our truck that has infrared and the GPS, so that we can operate those that are infrared, the older ones, as well as the newer ones. And at some point in the future, we'll end up having to change over the intersections over to the GPS, because they're no longer going to support the infrared. But for right now, at least we're getting those number of intersections that they're affecting transferred over no cost to us, which is, for us, that's a benefit of, I guess, the road construction for us. Say no cost to us. It's not coming out of our ad valorem tax dollars.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Seeing none, overtime report.
Yes, sir, minimum, and it's just a coverage for, someone being sick that day, I believe. Only 9 hours for the month, which is pretty remarkable, other than zero.
That is good. Thanks, guys. All right, any questions on the overtime report? Seeing none, moving on to new business, the sale of the Suburban to,
Want me to help you?
yeah,
Alan Morant?
Alan Moran.
Yes.
All right. Volunteer fire department.
Yep, Catherine and I have had numerous discussions about how we pronounce that. I had to give her the Alan Morant folks' pronunciation, which I can do that real well. I speak their language. When Alan Morant found out that we were purchasing a new command vehicle, and were inquiring as to what we were going to do with our older command vehicle, our initial thought was that we would trade it in and get the trade-in value through the vendor that we're purchasing the vehicle from. It saves a lot of work on our part to try to go out and get bid and put it out by the road, and this kind of coin toss on, somebody's wanting it or not wanting it, that kind of thing. So we thought the easier route might be to get a trade-in on it. So we were looking at trading it in, but when Al Morant, the fire chief Al Morant, called me and said they were in need of a command vehicle, chief, is there any way we can kind of work something out? I said, well, I know my board well enough to know we're not going to give it to you, but because we could get $5,000 for it. He says, let me talk to my board. He's had some discussion with his. He would like to purchase our command vehicle, which will greatly assist the Al Morant Volunteer Fire Department. They don't have a very large budget, and the only additional request he's had of us is that because they are a volunteer department, that they could split that payment into 2 payments of like $2,500 a piece. I told them as long as we received our $5 grand, I think we'd be all right, but it would be a board decision. I would.
Is there time dimension to how far they split?
Yes, sir. It would not be over a great period of time, but we can define that for him so that we can keep that down within a couple of months.
I would guess he's probably going to try to do that over 2 budget cycles.
That would be, when he approached it, I didn't ask him, but I would anticipate what he's hoping is that he makes the one, and then October 1st he can make the other, kind of thing. So I'm sure he's wanting to split it into these budgets because they don't. So on their department, they probably don't have a $5,000 budget. It's not very much. I know that department, and they are in need of it. And I kind of told him I thought the board would be willing to assist a local department as long as we're not losing any money in the endeavor. Meaning that we were going to get $5,000 on trade, and he's going to give us $5,000 for it. I thought the board would be okay. So with the board's approval, if they would approve the resolution, and then I'll work out the details with the chief to get that done. The big thing in the resolution, I believe, is that he doesn't get the vehicle until we take possession of ours fully outfitted and ready to go. We'll get it, but then we got to send it off, get radios put in, all that kind of stuff.
So is that ours 4-wheel drive, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the new one will get us
I think that would help them.
Yes, they're up there where they are, absolutely.
I personally would rather help them to be able to help someone else in a fire rescue incident versus selling it to somebody on the street.
Agreed.
So I'm on board. As long as it's in the same year cycle.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
And the statute allows us, instead of having to go out for bid, to directly sell to another government entity without going through that big process.
I'm all for it.
As long as the board's okay with it.
I move that we approve resolution 1803.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got a motion to approve resolution 1803 and a second. Any further discussion? think it's a great idea, so we'll take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous.
Outstanding, thank you.
So, congratulations. They got,
Yes, sir.
they got a great deal.
He's excited.
For what they
He
need.
has been on me a lot, because he's kind of excited to get it, he really is.
So after the meeting, I'll sign that resolution. Is that what you need?
I don't have one printed, we'll do it at a future date.
Oh, okay. All right. Excellent. All right, mid-year adjustments.
Adjustments before you are what we have discussed as we've gone through our budget here. And all of the adjustments are offset by another line item. So we're not looking to take funds from reserve or anywhere else. We're just kind of doing a reallocation of some of the funds for specific reasons. I will touch on some of the larger items that you see on page 31. Education, we're adding $35,000 to the budget. This is to cover the paramedic program, which has already been approved. And the majority of that is coming from the savings that we have from our new insurance with United Healthcare. There is a $14,000 adjustment under uniforms of duty. This is to, for the most part, it is to acquire uniforms for part-time employees should we need them because of this paramedic program. It will also, there's a little bit in there to help us complete our Class A uniforms for the entire staff. That will be finished by the end of this fiscal year.
Awesome. Awesome.
Wages, duty overtime, there's an increase of $15,000. Again, this goes to the paramedic program in case we need part-time employees to bring them to ride on the trucks. Wages, mandatory overtime, additional $5,000. I'm a little concerned at this point that we're under budgeted. We have a maximum exposure of $64,000 for mandatory overtime, but what that means is the employees have to be here all 5 days on their high work pay periods. And it normally doesn't happen for every single employee, every single pay period. They take vacation, they take sick leave, but it is averaging higher than what we've seen it since I've been here. So a little concerned at this point, so I'd like to make the adjustment for that. Moving on to page 33, under training and per diem, there's an increase of $7,500, and this is to pay for the use of the aquatic pool that our firefighters are using to help obtain and to maintain their incentive for their open water rescue. As well, and then also within that category, we had a tremendous amount of employees participate in the sea school training, 19 employees, and we did not budget that many. We did not believe that many had an interest in that training, so we do need to make up the difference.
I'm glad to see him there.
Under capital outlay, there's an additional $5,000 from computers, and the majority of this is we did have budgeted 3 new computers. We turn computers on an annual basis. We find our oldest computers or problem computers and we turn them out. We rotate them out. This year we had 3 budgeted. I've been trying to keep it under 1,000 under capital, but new technology is driving the cost higher, so they're just over $1,000. So the 3 have to now be capitalized. And then the beach safety adjustments, there's just a few minor adjustments there, but you can see that those adjustments for capital acquisitions, office expenditure, training, uniforms, they're all offset internally within that division.
What do you do with the old computer?
The old computers we actually donate. We donate them to CRC, who cleans them up, who destroys them as required by public record laws. They have to delete the hard drives, destroy them whenever they do, and then they donate them to a children's youth program. So as I stated at the beginning of this, all the budget adjustments are offset by savings in another category.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion to approve the mid-year budget adjustments in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. All right. Next topic is Noriega Point lifeguard. This is one that I've asked the chief to put on the agenda. It's kind of been brought to my attention that the city is putting the park at the end of Noriega, as we all well know. It's going to be a public park because of the BP funds that were made to do the hardening of that point. So they put in the cuts, they call it something else, T-groins or whatever. And there's 4 of those, and they're going to be designated in those as swim areas.
Right.
And I went to the meeting last night, and they're actually talking about roping it off and making it non-boat traffic. That's what the recommendation that was spoke about. And it's just going to be swim areas. So I got up with the chief and said, hey, I do have a concern about the swim areas now that they're inviting people to go to, and possibly getting outside of that G-groin and getting into the outgoing tide. And we need to look into possibly getting a tower there or some type of coverage with lifeguards. So I guess Chief and Joe has been speaking, and maybe coming up with some type of plan that we can address with the city or the
Construction is
GDC.
done.
They were talking the next couple of weeks.
Really?
Yeah, amazing.
And the talk is that they're supposed to be addressing this in last night's meeting in the fall, about how to
Fund it?
well, no, not funding it, talking about, putting vegetation over the dunes to keep them from eroding, and a bunch of other topics were on the table to talk about. And they're trying to get DEP back in to talk before the season starts, which city don't know for sure if that's gonna happen.
I think it's.
But I think we need to.
I think it's very, very important that we
Be on-
put somebody there.
Yeah.
But, on the other hand, I think this is a city park, and I think that maybe the city needs to come up with a little bit more funds. We've been getting a very small amount from them for as long as I've been on this board. It's been a long time. And I think it might be something that the chief might wanna go sit down and have a discussion of, look, we want to do it, we will be there, but it's gonna cost us just to do it.
Oh, exactly, it's not free.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be, we need to get in the forefront of this before we start inviting people to swim in that area.
That area's gonna be packed.
I can just see a kid get swept out,
Well, that.
and a parent going out trying to save
From
them.
day one anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they go and make it a swim area. It's been a swim area for how many years?
But it's gonna be
It's gonna be a party.
promoted now.
Yeah,
Well, I agree.
it's one thing you go in at your own risk, but when you have,
I'll be the first one to agree with more lifeguards.
Mhm.
And, if there's I really don't believe the city's gonna wanna do anything, just like the county, even though they have control over Crab Island now, that they don't contribute any more to it than what they have been.
Right. Well, it doesn't hurt for the record to ask.
Yeah.
I don't think,
And
I think you might be pleased, I think they may
I think
see
they
a
will
need.
too. I do, I believe they'll step to the table. My question, Joe, is how long would it take to get another tower? Because we don't have a spare tower.
We do.
We do have a spare one?
We don't have a spare tower. This year I squeezed into the budget, trying to have some of that, is a
Well, I'm glad to
extra
hear that.
chair. I have an extra chair.
Right, there's a
Okay.
difference between towers and
Right,
chairs.
Yes.
and I'm very familiar. How
Yeah.
long would it take to get another tower?
I don't know. I don't think we could do that before Memorial.
Okay, I would like to see us at least explore into seeing how long it would take to get one,
Okay,
because that is a perfect, and that area needs a tower. There's 4 swim areas.
Yeah, right.
And a chair is one thing, but a tower sitting there, I would like to see.
Again, it goes back to money though.
I'm sorry, I know,
Well,
let him check on it for us.
The chief and I
Availability.
discussed, about the response time. We have a tower at the T,
Finger jetty.
at the finger jetty. We can't traverse the beach because of the seawall there, so we have to go around, that's time. If we have to get on the wave runner, that's a little extra time to get there, and plus he's gonna have to be notified that there's a problem. By the time he gets there, they're at the jetties anyway.
Exactly.
so, on outgoing tide. So I just feel like it's very important for us to go start now, try to get something implemented before we have a situation.
It's a large area, it's gonna be
I
promoted,
mean, it's starting next month.
it already is being promoted.
Yeah.
They're not using it now because of construction, right?
Right. So when mama and baby gets out there and something happens
Yeah.
and we don't,
Like it did on the other side. When is the city gonna have their grand opening or whatever they're gonna do?
I
that
haven't
allow people
heard.
to come out there?
I haven't heard,
I'll find that out tomorrow. I'll find that out tomorrow because I think Rick is correct. I think we need to jump on this quick. I think it's gonna be, I think it's really, I think that place is gonna be used. I mean, they're promoting it as a park and it's gonna be used as a park.
Their
And they're
families trying to get
promoting-
away from Crab Island, that's where
I'm
they're
sorry?
going. So their families trying to get away from Crab Island, that's
Right.
where they're going.
Exactly, and they're providing more parking, so, I mean, everything is pushing it towards that to be what it's gonna be,
The next
and it's gonna
playground.
be that, and we need to be there.
It'll be the only city public beach.
We need to be
essentially.
there. So
Deck
I
was
would
kinda
like to see
small, some of the
you,
other
I would
ones were
like to
small.
see you check to see the availability, a cost, and get back with us as soon as you can.
Yeah, last time we bought a tower, it was around 25 grand,
How much?
around 25 grand.
Right,
For
that's,
the
I
tower.
was thinking it was there.
Yeah, it was around 25 grand. Annual cost, depending on the, season that we wanna put them out. If we're putting them out like we do our other chairs, which is from Memorial Day through Labor Day, that's what we do with the other, city, public beach accesses. Then we're probably looking at about 20 grand, and that's a round number. We run it out to find out. But it'd probably be around 20. So,
Was that including shipping?
No, that's just labor.
you're talking about the 25 for the tower, the back,
Tower.
for the tower, if I
That
remember
was it.
correctly, yeah, that's correct. Because I think the tower runs around 20 grand,
Okay.
and then they gotta obviously come by truck, by tractor trailer.
Okay.
So that's about 5 grand to get that over here. We have piggybacked before with someone else that was purchasing, in Daytona or somewhere else in Florida, so we were able to kind of ours with theirs, and they just kind of stopped here, gave us ours, and then moved on and delivered the other. So
Can
we were able
you
to kind of help with the shit.
get back with us as soon as you can on
Absolutely,
the availability?
absolutely.
So,
and the cost of putting
Yes,
somebody there.
yes.
So we can have real numbers, hard numbers.
So Chief, you're saying 20,000 for labor,
right,
so 45,000 for one first year.
for first year, that's
First
correct.
year.
And that's why I wanted to have a discussion to see whether or not, I say wanted to have a discussion, I wanted to bring up, based upon where, the reaction that we receive and, from the city and what kind of decisions they made, is whether or not, because we're talking about mid-year, this budget's already set, they're gonna have to make some allocations and some adjustments to provide us with more money to be able to do this during this season, as compared to budgeting for next season. So it's to come up with money that's already been budgeted and making budget allocations like we do here. So, just knowing some of the staff, they're not necessarily always very keen on that, so I don't know that it would be well received.
Well, I can't see where they would say no.
Oh, I don't either.
I mean, we already have it at other public accesses, correct?
Political suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't spend $10
And
million
then
on
you have a new
park
park
and then not have it protected.
and invite people there and not
Then you
protect
like the state.
That's why I'm asking you to see the availability.
Yes, sir.
Well, you could also put a chair there for now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that we have availability of a chair.
Yeah.
So,
We could start.
if, in the meantime, to be able to get somebody there, if they're willing to pay for the cost
Oh, yes.
of the personnel, we can put one there because we have allocated to do that, so that's why we have a spare one, because we know we know that we're trying to slowly, as, the TDC increases our funding, make sure that we're able to add chairs each year, because we know that the need exists. So we've been trying to budget for that each and every year. This is, next year will be the year we're gonna hold us at the same level of budgeting. But Joe and I have worked on, and with Catherine, obviously, our finance person, to help us try to allocate some funds to try to get ahead of the game, even if we're not able to put more people out there, get ahead of the game with some of the equipment and some other stuff. So we have that ability to do it. So if they have it, we don't have to buy the tower this year, but they'll have to make sure they budget for that next year if we get it
Well,
ordered.
I can see them trying to push back that, hey, we've got it covered now because the T-Runs have been there all the time, but now they're gonna be putting a road to get closer. instead of people just walking that distance, so.
Putting bathrooms.
And bathrooms and
Yeah.
bars, so.
Now, there
I'm
was,
not gonna-
there was some conversation. They actually asked me about it when I was having a meeting in reference to the fire station down there, and this was quite a while back. They had asked me about, Noriega Point, they're doing the work and lifeguards and this and that, and I said, well, lifeguards come at a cost. I said, currently there's one at the Finger Jetty, that's there. But if there, in meaning that if there's not gonna be one at the Noriega Point, that's gonna be the guard that's gonna respond there. Okay? But it does come with a cost to be able to put one there. We'll have that conversation later.
Okay.
That's what I was
Time's
told.
now to have that conversation.
I'll work
So,
Okay.
so I would anticipate they're not probably gonna wanna do anything until they are done with their part, which means the bathrooms, all that. So anyway, I will have a conversation. We'll see where it goes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
All right, we have been invited to the Destin's Week of Blessings. Everybody should have got a invitation in their box, but just to let you know, there tomorrow, it starts tomorrow.
Yep.
The Blessing in the Marketplace starts at 11:30 to 1 p.m. over at the Destin Life Center on Beach Drive. Lunch will be provided. It does say please RSVP because elected officials will be recognized, so, and plus they plan the food.
We a lot of times we'll let them know, because sometimes people's schedules change and they know how we are, so we typically let them know who's there when we get there.
Okay, good deal.
Yep.
And then an additional opportunity that you don't want to miss is the Blessing of the Fleet, which is the 61st annual Blessing of the Fleet, which will be Thursday, May 10th at 4 p.m. to 7 at the Destin Fleet Marina. So.
And to tag in with that, they came by today, provided the guys with some barbecues from Bucks, Moe's, but I'll refer to it as Bucks, from Bucks today, and they came by and blessed the fire station, a couple of pastors, so that was wonderful.
Oh, that's nice.
So that happened today.
Good. So I'm going to try to make the luncheon tomorrow, the Blessing of the Marketplace.
We always have a presence. We have for as long as I've been the chief, so we've always had a presence there. I would love, as many commissioners as available can be there. I think it's always a good thing to be in the community, and be seen at an event that's been going on for quite a while.
All right, and there's one more reminder, the commissioners to file their annual Form 1 by July 1st, 2018. They haven't been mailed out because I haven't received mine anyway, so I'll get mine done. And then next meeting will be held June 12th at 5:30 p.m. Anything else come from the board for commissioners? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, sir.